Patricia Lee Smith was born on December 30th, 1946, in Chicago, Illinois. She was the eldest of 4 children born to Beverly Smith, a jazz singer turned waitress, and Grant Smith, a machinist at a Honeywell plant. After spending the first 4 years of her life on the south side of Chicago, Smith's family moved to Philadelphia in 1950 and then to Woodbury, New Jersey, in 1956, when she was 9 years old. A tall, gangly, and sickly child with a lazy left eye, Smith's outward appearance and shy demeanor gave no hint of the groundbreaking rock star she would become. However, Smith says she always knew that she was destined for greatness. Smith attended Deptford High School, a racially integrated high school, where she recalls both befriending and dating her black classmates. While in high school, Smith also developed an intense interest in music and performance. She fell in love with the music of John Coltrane, Little Richard, and the Rolling Stones, and performed in many of the school's plays and musicals. Upon graduating from high school in 1964, Smith took a job working at a toy factory, a short-lived but terrible experience that Smith described in her first single, Piss Factory. Later that fall, she enrolled at Glassboro State College, now known as Rowan University, with the intention of becoming a high school art teacher. But she didn't fare well academically, and her insistence on discarding traditional curricula to focus exclusively on experimental and obscure artists did not sit well with school administrators. So in 1967, with vague aspirations of becoming an artist, Smith moved to New York City and took a job working at a Manhattan bookstore. Smith took up with a young artist named Robert Mapplethorpe, and although their romantic involvement ended when he discovered his homosexuality, Smith and Mapplethorpe maintained a close friendship and artistic partnership for many years to come. Choosing performance poetry as her favorite artistic medium, Smith gave her first public reading on February 10, 1971, at St. Mark's Church in the Bowery. The now legendary reading, with guitar accompaniment from Lenny Kaye, introduced Smith as an up-and-coming figure in the New York art circle. Later the same year, she further raised her profile by co-authoring and co-starring with Sam Shepard in his semi-autobiographical play Cowboy Mouth. Over the next several years, Smith dedicated herself to writing. In 1972, she published her first book of poetry, Seventh Heaven, which earned flattering reviews but sold few copies. 2 further collections, Early Morning Dream, 1972, and Wit, 1973, received similarly high praise. At the same time, Smith also wrote music journalism for magazines such as Cream and Rolling Stone. Smith, who had experimented earlier with setting her poetry to music, began to more fully explore rock and roll as an outlet for her lyric poetry. In 1974, she formed a band and recorded the single Piss Factory, now widely considered the first true punk song, which garnered her a sizable and fanatical grassroots following. The next year, after Bob Dylan lent her mainstream credibility by attending one of her concerts, Smith landed a record deal with Arista Records. Smith's 1975 debut album, Horses, featuring the iconic singles Gloria and Land of a Thousand Dances, was a huge commercial and critical success for its manic energy, heartfelt lyrics, and skillful wordplay. The definitive early punk rock album, Horses, is a near ubiquitous inclusion on lists of the best albums of all time. Smith's fourth album, 1979's Wave, received only lukewarm reviews and modest sales. By the time she released Wave, Smith had fallen deeply in love with MC5 guitarist Fred Sonic Smith, and the pair married in 1980. For the next 17 years, Smith largely disappeared from the public scene, devoting herself to domestic life and raising the couple's 2 children. She released only one album during this time, 1988's Dream of Life, a collaboration with her husband. The album was a commercial disappointment despite including one of Smith's most iconic singles, People Have the Power. When Fred Sonic Smith died of a heart attack in 1994, the last in a series of many close friends and collaborators of Smith's who passed away in quick succession, it finally provided Smith the impetus to revive her music career. She achieved a triumphant return with her 1996 comeback album Gone Again, featuring the singles Summer Cannibals and Wicked Messenger. The artist remained a prominent fixture of the rock music scene with her albums Peace and Noise, 1997, Gung Ho, 2000, and Trampin', 2004. all of which were highly praised by music critics, proving Smith's ability to reshape her music to speak to a new generation of rock fans. Her 2007 album 12 featured Smith's take on a dozen rock classics, including Gimme Shelter, Changing of the Guards, and Smells Like Teen Spirit. Smith followed with the critically acclaimed Bunga, 2012, proving that after 35 years of music and 11 albums, she remained ever-evolving. One of the pioneers of punk rock music, a trailblazer who redefined the role of female rock stars, a poet who unleashed her lyrical talent over powerful guitars, Smith stands out as one of the greatest figures in the history of rock and roll. After 4 decades, Smith finds her continued motivation to write and make music in the unfairly shortened lives of her loved ones and the needs of her children. In 2010, Smith published her acclaimed memoir Just Kids, which gives readers a personal glimpse into her prototypical starving artist youth and her close relationship with Mapplethorpe during the late 1960s and 70s in New York City. The work became a New York Times bestseller and received a National Book Award. In 2015, Showtime Networks announced it would be developing a limited series based on kids. Smith also released another book that year, M-Train, a memoir that blends philosophies around art and connection with world travel. The artist followed in 2019 with a third memoir, Year of the Monkey, this one chronicling the events of her life in 2016, from visiting dying friends to her reaction to Donald Trump winning the presidency. She has also been featured a number of art exhibitions, including Strange Messenger at the Andy Warhol Museum in 2002 and Rockaway, hosted by MoMA PS1 in 2014. In addition, Smith was named a Commander of the Ordre des Arts et des Lettres by the French Ministry of Culture in 2005 and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007. In 2020, Smith contributed signed first-edition copies of her books to the Passages Bookshop in Portland, Oregon after the store's valuable first edition and other books by various authors were stolen in a burglary. Smith regards climate change as the predominant issue of our time. On February 24, 2022, Smith performed at the Capitol Theater, Portchester, New York, for the first time, saying, "I would be lying if I said I wasn't affected by what is happening in the world," referencing the Russian invasion of Ukraine earlier that day. "Peace as we know it is over in Europe," she said. "This is what I heard in my sleep and goes through my head all day, all night long like a tragic hit song." A raw translation of the Ukrainian anthem that the people are singing through defiant tears, she wrote on Instagram on March 6, 2022. In May 2021, more than 600 musicians, including Patti Smith, added their signature to an open letter calling for a boycott of performances in Israel until the occupation of the Palestinian territories comes to an end.